Hello, welcome to Fernwood Cellars. My name is Matt Odinger. I'm the owner and winemaker of Fernwood Cellars here. And we're going to be going through various wines over the next few weeks, but who am I trying to kid? You know what? This isn't me. Sorry. This is going to be an informal deal. We're going to see what we got. We're going to go through the wines, each individual wine. We're going to go through the vineyards. We're going to go through how I make the wines. Let's go. All right, so the first wine we're going to be looking at today is our Vanumanutagi Chardonnay, the 2018 vintage. So I figured what better place to start than here at the vineyard. It's where the wine's made after all. All right, so a little history lesson before we get going here. So my family's been on the property since the 1800s. I'm the fifth generation. And Vanumanutagi Ranch was part of our original homestead. My great-great-grandfather sold 300 of our 400 acres to Mrs. Robert Louis Stevenson, the author's wife. She came here with Robert Louis Stevenson's nurse after he had passed, and the two women set up shop here. They named the ranch Vanumanutagi, and it's actually Samoan for Valley of the Singing Birds. So here's the vineyard. It's one of the most storied and famed Chardonnay vineyards in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a real pleasure and honor to work this property and make some fantastic wines. What you see here is the 2020 vintage starting to come up. So we'll talk about the vineyard now. So what you're looking at is a cane pruned vine. So a lot of you are used to driving by various vineyards and seeing this sort of capital T structure. But for a lot of you, this section right here, generally it's a lot thicker. That's spur pruning. This is cane pruning. Basically what we do here is we take the growth from last year. That's this guy right here. So last year this was green. It was a green shoot. We've laid it down and we've cut this arm completely off. This helps the vine rejuvenate its growth every year. It's in our opinion, a superior way to prune. The only drawback on it is you have to have a crew that understands it. Each vine is different. Each vine has its own shape. So if you don't have a well-educated crew, or you're using a contract crew that doesn't understand that, it's just simply a lot easier to have them spur prune, because in that situation all you have to do is count to 2 and cut. For example, this right here, that's a spur. In this system we call this a renewal spur. One of these shoots right here is going to come up, and next year that'll be what we lay down, and we will cut this completely off along with all the other growth that it's got. So here's a primordial bud coming up, and that guy right there is going to turn into a shoot. Each shoot will carry 2 clusters. When it comes time to harvest them, this vineyard will make another delicious vintage. All right, so once the fruit comes into the winery, we weigh it, and we use this. This is our press. This is what's called a bladder press. And the best way I've heard it described for folks is basically, think of a beer can with a balloon inside. We put the fruit inside, whole cluster, which means we don't take the stems out. And then this guy runs a computer program which inflates that balloon to a certain pressure, squeezing the grapes. The juice comes out that little hole right there, and we pump it into tank. And then the balloon deflates, the whole thing rotates, and then the balloon inflates some more. The whole process takes about 2 hours. And by the time it's all said and done, well, you can grab that fruit that comes out of the press, and it's bone dry. All right, so after all that, let's get down to business. This is our 2018 Vanumanutagi Estate Chardonnay. I've been making this wine since 2005. It's always been an excellent wine for us. And as I said earlier, it's a great pleasure to work with this fruit and make this wine. So right off the bat on appearances, you've got a pale yellow wine. It's pretty fruit forward. We do make our wine in barrels. We use 100% American oak barrels these days. Although on the Chardonnay, I use about 20% new and the rest neutral. We spend all this time, money, and effort out in the vineyards trying to grow this fruit. The last thing I want to do is cover it up with oak. And for me personally, even though Chardonnay can handle quite a bit of oak, I just don't want people to feel like they're sucking on a 2x4. So on the flavor profile for this wine, quite often we get tropical fruits, some pineapple. This particular vintage, we're getting more citrus, at least for now. Part of the decision making when it comes to making wine is when to pick it. That has to do with the sugar content, which then translates to the alcohol. But it goes beyond that. As the grapes are ripening, they start out very acidic with low sugar. If you've ever had an underripe grape at the grocery store, you'll know that when you bite into it, it's pretty puckery. Same thing happens out in those vineyards. So what we do there is, as it's getting riper, I want to pick the fruit when there's still enough acid in that to translate into the wine. If you wait too long and the sugar's too high, you A, end up with a very alcoholic wine, but B, all the acid falls out from underneath the wine. So therefore, you end up with basically a flabby wine that's not particularly very interesting. Think bulk wine. So in making a structured wine, not only is this wine tasting great right now, but I really believe this wine will taste really nice in the future. I know it's sort of counterintuitive to our culture to age Chardonnay, but it is possible. And it's delicious when done right with the right wines. For most of us, we're being asked to slow down. That's a good thing, I think. Hopefully you feel that some of our wines, our Chardonnay or some of our other wines, would be a good accompaniment for you and yours when you're taking this time to look around and enjoy life a little bit. To that end, we are offering free delivery anywhere in Gilroy, as well as reduced rate shipping anywhere else. So I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about our Vanumanutagi Chardonnay. And I truly hope that you and all of yours are safe and remain healthy during these times. Cheers.